Thank you very much, Dr. Moji. Thank you, everyone who has joined us today. It's my pleasure to be able to share some insight about how we can develop our careers as researchers. And as much as possible, I have built the content for today to be focused on what's relevant to a large number of us who are based in African institutions. So while there would be examples from elsewhere, it is contextualized so that we can gain maximally from today. Okay, so for my presentation, I am looking at covering, looking at career advancement for researchers. But there are a few themes that I will be focusing on. First, we'll be looking at the researcher and what the research skill that are developed as part of the process of being a researcher. We'll talk about some of the career options for people who have had, who are researchers in Africa. We'll be looking at what the options are and the potential for transiting between academia and non-academic institutions. And finally, I will be giving us some thoughts on how and why it's important to plan, to take control of an individual's career progress. Okay. So I'm hoping that at the end of today, please could people be muted when they come in so that it won't affect the recording. So I'm hoping that at the end of the few minutes that I have to share, there will be lots of time for question and answer at the end, but I'm hoping that we would be able to shed more light on the varied skills that are developed as part of a researcher's career. I'll be highlighting a few points about the options that researchers have for their careers, and if it is for those who are working within or outside academia, how to transition between these two main areas. And finally, it's not just about knowing. I'm hoping that based on the information that we'll share, you'll be able to develop a plan for yourself to advance your career, whatever that stage it be, whether you're just a starter or you are advanced in your career. So one of the things I would like to do is just for us to get into the feel of things. So if you have on your phones or your mobile devices, if you could go to slido.com, slido.com, on the page, you can put in this number as the join number and then answer 2 questions that I have there, please. Just to give us an idea of the audience that we have and what our current state are about our careers. So if you don't mind, please go to that webpage, slido.com, and put in this event number 103265. And yeah, let's know how satisfied people are about how their careers are progressing so far at this point. Okay, we have 13 people, well, 12 outside of me. So please, I would like everyone to be able to participate, and let's get this done so that we can progress. Thank you. I can give it 1 more minute. 1 more minute. It's anonymous, so nobody would know what anyone else is voting for. Okay. So what I would say here then is, okay, good. All right. people can still vote as we go on, but just for us to make the point here that from the information that we have on the screen, it looks like there's still a lot desired about how careers should be progressing. And I'm hopeful that some of the things that we'll discuss today will be able to help you in taking ownership of that career journey that you have so that you can make progress with it. Okay, I have a second question here, which is the second one and the last. How well do you feel empowered to take control? So whether you feel that it's progressing well or there's still a lot to be desired, do you feel empowered to take control? So from 1 to 10, 10 being, yes, I am fully empowered to do it, or 1, I don't really know. I feel other people have the power to decide how my career is progressing. Do you feel empowered? Do you have the knowledge and skills that's required to push forward your career? Dr. Muji? Oh, okay. No, maybe, all right, that's fine. So I will, from what we are seeing on the data from participants, it's looking like, at least to a large extent, people feel empowered about how they want to progress. Obviously, we could also see that there is a desire to feel more empowered, to feel that you can decide how your own careers should go. And as a matter of fact, that's where we all want to be, that we have the skills, the knowledge, and we're empowered to take whatever career decisions that we want to make. So that our decision about how we want our careers to progress is not based on what somebody thinks or on, we depend totally and entirely on other people to determine how we progress. Okay. All right. So what I would like to do today is starting from the point of who is a researcher. Now, it might look like, why is this person asking this kind of question? But it's important that we understand the concept of being a researcher in the light of, are you thinking of a researcher as just a person or a researcher in terms of the process that brings one to the point of becoming a researcher? So it's important that we see this in that light, that it's not just a researcher as an individual, but we keep in mind also the research process. So basically, when we talk about a researcher, now, a lot of us, if not all that are on this call, are researchers in one way or the other. So we are people who conduct research. From that word researcher, we research. And what does that mean? That we inquire, we ask questions in a systematic way, and we investigate this question not just in an haphazard manner, but we follow strict and structured methodologies to be able to answer the questions that we need asked. So a researcher, what does a researcher do in terms of the process? In order to answer those questions, we design experiments. If you are in the sciences, technology, engineering, math, STEM, what we call STEM, you design, collect, analyze, and interpret data. But if you're in the humanities, it also means you are analyzing behaviors and trends in order to identify key observations that guide decision making, that help people to behave in a certain way. So if you are in the humanities, you will be looking at things like in the economics, behavioral sciences, why people behave the way they do, why consumers gravitate towards certain products compared to the others. So we are researching, and I'm not limiting this talk to people in STEM only. So whether you are in the sciences or you are in the arts and humanities, the concept of a researcher is about what we do principally. And one of those things we do is that we advance knowledge as researchers. How do we advance knowledge? Through the research we conduct, we provide new evidence that solve problems or produce new ways of doing things. And we find researchers cutting across different fields of study. Next point that I want to make here is what are the different stages of researcher? The European Commission they developed this scale for categorizing researchers. So R1 there would be people who are up to the point of getting their PhD. So if you're doing a master's by research, you're doing an MPhil, or you're a PhD student, you will be in the first stage researchers, what generally is often called early career researcher. On the next rung of the ladder are recognized researchers. So these are people who already have a PhD or equivalent, and they are not yet fully independent. So they don't run their own labs, or they don't determine the kind of researches they do. They are still under the mentorship of some more senior academic. So those are recognized researchers. And in most situations, we can refer these to people who are postdoctoral researchers, people who are at the stage where they finish their PhD and they are progressing towards developing skills that will make them an independent researcher. We have the established researcher as the R3, those who have developed a level of independence, and R4 are those who are leading researchers. Now, the interesting thing here is that as researchers if you are a researcher based in Africa, to a large extent, people could be PI or what we call principal investigators earlier on in their careers, because people can be lecturers before they obtain their PhD. So while this is not a strict rule, it's just to understand that we can contextualize the way African universities and things work there to this form. But for those who work in Europe, America, Australia, etc., in more developed academic systems, to be a lecturer, to be an academic lecturer, you will have been at least higher than an R1 stage. So what the stage of them becoming a researcher? The first step is obviously the qualification. So it's important to get the qualification. Now, whatever that field is, it would be something that is beyond the bachelor's degree. So master's degree, PhD. And then from the PhD, there are other skills and experience that are required to be in a researcher. So I have put down a few points here, and I would like contributions at some point, which I will request for. So people can have experience, they can gain experience of research after they've gotten their qualification through different means, through formal training. So the postdoctoral system, the postdoctoral fellowships is one way of getting advanced research skills and training to be more experienced. Internships is also another opportunity of gaining research experience. Volunteering, apprenticeship in some parts of the world is also an opportunity to gain research skills. So I'd like to ask if there is any other contribution on other ways of gaining experience as a researcher. Please feel free to unmute and mention any other ways of gaining experience as a researcher. Any contribution from anyone?
Okay, I don't know if working in collaborative projects is falls under any of this you've listed.
That's a good point you've mentioned. Sir. So yes, building collaborative project is one, because in that it's an opportunity to gain experience of skills that other people have that you would like to learn. So it's also part of another way of gaining experience. Thank you very much. Any other contribution on other opportunities of gaining experience as a researcher?
How about working in industry? Will that count?
Yes. So working in industry would be another opportunity of gaining experience for skills that are one doesn't have, and two, there are ways of working in industry that might be different. Not just that might be, there's ways of working that are different from people who have been used to working in higher education systems. So that's another way of gaining experience, of gaining research experience, specialized way of doing that. Yes, that's a valid point. One more contribution before we progress.
How about collaboration with mentor?
Absolutely. Collaboration with mentors. Somebody else wanted to say something. Thank you, Dr. Mike. Valid point.
Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to say teaching can also help you gain experience. Teaching,
So,
whether...
Yeah, go ahead. Clarify it. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I just wanted to add that, for example, if you're a master's holder teaching undergraduates, or if you get the PhD, you teach even postgraduates.
So teaching is a very good opportunity, a way to gain experience. That is teaching experience. So those are very valid points. Thank you very much for those contributions. Now, I'm looking into the mind of a researcher, and the question I ask myself are, what are the general skill sets that people who are researchers, who've done a master's, who've done a PhD, who have done who are maybe in at the postdoctoral stage of their researches, what skills do they use? And I was looking at there's a paper that was published a report that was published 2 years ago in South Africa. What they did was to look at, it's called the National Tracer Study. So they were tracing people who have done PhDs. Where have they gone to? What skills do they use now, etc. And this figure is from that report. So in this figure, they were asking the question, what skills from a researcher do people use the most in the job? So when they've done their PhDs and they are working in whether in academia or other sectors, what skills do they use the most? And we can find here that some of the skills that the researcher develops in the course of their research training is the general knowledge of the subject they are looking at. They gain general research skills. So not just the general knowledge, but the other skills that people gain as a result of doing research. So things like writing, things like critical thinking, skills that like presentation, bringing complex concepts and explaining it to people in lay languages. Those are some of the varied skills that we have the opportunity of developing as researchers. And it goes on and on like that. So it's important that as we develop as researchers, we consider the broader skill set beyond not just on the project that we are doing or our research or getting our qualifications, but the wider skills that are expected of a researcher. It's important that we look for opportunities to gain them. And one of the tools that has been very helpful in determining that is what's called the research development framework. This research development framework was developed by an organization in the UK, which they developed it by looking holistically at what are the expectations from somebody who's done a PhD. What skill set are required of them? And they are in four main domains. So knowledge and the intellectual ability, personal effectiveness, research governance and organization, and engagement, influence, and impact. So in these four domains, there are key skills that are required. So let me give, for example, in the personal effectiveness, they want that it is important that a researcher develops qualities that help them to be an effective researcher. And one of that is the ability to be able to develop your own career development plan. You must take ownership of your own development. You must be able to manage yourself, and you must also have other personal qualities that will help you become an effective person in the research that you do. So the opportunity of doing research gives us that the landscape to be able to develop wider skills even beyond the subject area that we're looking at. So in this, so there was an organization that did a skills map of what are the skills that are required in the UK, and I'm going to bring this back to the context within that we can relate with. So they did an analysis of the skills that are required for employment, the skills that will be in demand in the labor market. And they found out that there were few shifts. They did that across three periods, in 2010, in 2020, and in 2035. So this study was looking at, let's look at the next 15 years, the next 12 years. What will be the skills that will be most needed for people to get into work? And you might not bother having to read everything. What occurs on the top 5 are skills that researchers use on a day-to-day basis. So, for example, communicating with supervisors and peers. We communicate our research to different audiences. Through that, we build networks, which is the second point, establishing and maintaining interpersonal relationships. We're able to organize our work, and based on the literature we read, getting information, we are able to make decisions of what the next project will be and what the next project will be. So as a researcher, we are suitably qualified to be able to do a lot of work, different works in different sectors, and we have skills that are required not just now, but in the future, which is really, really something that places us in a good stead. The World Economic Forum published this report last year, where they were looking at, in the next 5 years, what will be the skills that are required for the jobs of the future. And again, similar to the previous slide I showed you, this was a global survey. And the key skills that will be required in the next 3 years would be things like analytical thinking, creative thinking, issues that researchers are already vast in. Now, the only one that is an outlier is AI and big data, which is something that is recent, it's new, and it just suggests to us that if we want to be competitive in the future that's happening, we'll need to look at ways of embedding this in the work that we do so that we are knowledgeable about artificial intelligence. Now, for each of these things, I've put links that can be clickable to read them in more details. So those are the skills. So where have researchers worked in? From that report from South Africa, they found that about 2/3 of people who got their PhDs worked in the higher education sector, which you would say, yeah, it's not surprising for people who are based in Africa, because most people who do PhDs will either be already lecturing in one way or the other, or involved in the higher education sector in one way or the other. So what jobs do they do? As lecturers, as postdocs, as researchers in different names. Now, this could vary from country to country. I mean, the percentage of people who work in the higher education sector. This is for South Africa. It could be higher in Nigeria, for example. So people work for government. People with PhDs work at business enterprises. They work with other private sector that are non-governmental organizations, and they work for other education sector. The other parts that I want to add here, people also work as independent, they work independently as consultants and also as freelance researchers. They work for themselves, consulting for some of these organizations, whether higher education, government, businesses, etc. And it's interesting to see also that they reported that people were able to move from one sector to the other. So people were able to move from government to higher education. And people can move from higher education to other sectors too. So it's not that once you start in the lane, once you get a PhD and you start academics, you can't do anything else. No. There is the possibility for mobility across sector, because the skills that we have as researchers are in high demand. I will come to the point of why some people with that PhD couldn't get a job 1 year. So they did the survey 1 year after their graduation, that they couldn't get jobs with their doctoral degree. And we can discuss that during our question and answer. Why would people that are so highly skilled, or what could be the factors that contribute to people with PhDs not getting a job after their doctoral degrees? So that leads me to, what are the options available? In my job at the University of Glasgow that I ended in January this year, I led some initiatives, and one of it is what we call Pathfinder Career Narratives. And what it is basically is the story of researchers who have had PhDs in different sectors, whether in STEM, in arts, in business, in law, etc. What are they doing now? What are their jobs now? And what skills have they carried from their PhDs that is helping them or position them to do what they are doing now? Now, somebody might say, oh, this is different. Maybe, oh, this is UK, or this is the global north. But that's not all that it is to this story. Before I finish, I'll be sharing an experience of transition like this. So this is a compilation of different stories that we have. So one is a policy engagement coordinator at a university. Someone else is working as a careers advisor for postgraduate researchers. And even myself in that job, I came from working in the lab as a microbiologist to becoming a research culture specialist, directing and supporting researchers to be able to identify suitable careers. So we have a lot of skills that we can repurpose, basically. And that's the point I want to make here. On the left here, the image here shows a survey that was done by at Cambridge of their postdocs. Where have they worked? Where are their postdocs, especially those in the sciences? Where have they gone on? And you can see it's very varied. From public sector, if you talk about public sector, different places, universities, hospitals, government, parliament, they support R&D in industry. They work for think tanks, people that need critical thinking, any organization that requires these vast array of skills that people with a PhD, researchers, have developed. We can, as researchers, repurpose those specific skills and work in these sectors. But what it principally requires is that first we need to be aware that those opportunities are And this is one of the things that I thank NAM for, because this masterclass today is about building that awareness. And once we develop that awareness, we will know the different things. So I would have loved that we do a reflection at this point, but I'll leave it till the end, and we probably ask a few questions at the end. And what I wanted us to look at is, reflect as an individual. What skills have I built? What sectors need those skills? What areas am I very good at? What sectors need those skills? And how can I start engaging with those sectors? Even if it is just for awareness sake, to know what is there. Okay. So I'll come into this to the main second part of my conversation, which will be what then is about transition. Now, I know not everybody on this call might already have their PhDs. So I felt it was important to talk about transition, how researchers can use their skills for transiting into whatever careers they want in different ways. So I'll be talking first about people who are yet to get their PhDs, how to get PhDs. I'll be talking about people who already have PhDs who want to continue in academia. How can they use and maximize their skills and maximize the opportunities to help them do that? And the last will be people who are thinking of doing work outside of academia. Okay, so for the first group, you're looking at getting a PhD. So what's available there is that you could, to do your PhD, first you could apply within your country. Funding style or funding options for PhDs differ. Some people who are already working in higher education institutions, their institution might fund them for their PhD. For some other, they might be able to have access to the whatever the funding agency of their country is. So in Nigeria, it's TED Fund. In South Africa, it's the NRF, for supporting their PhDs. Countries, I did my PhD in Ireland, and we have institutions and government bodies also have their different funding systems that enable people to do PhD. One other point I want to make here is that there are different options of doing a PhD. It can be done fully within your country. It can be done on a split basis. So you do some components within your country and get opportunity to do the remaining components in a country outside of yours, or you could do it fully outside of your country. So there are different options there, and we can talk about it if anyone has specific questions about that. There is also this page you access. So it's the information system of the European Commission. And if you look at jobs and funding, they have a lot of opportunities that are not just, some of them that are, some national funders will advertise the PhD opportunities they have there. Some institutions will advertise there. So there are different ways of getting information about how to get support for a PhD. Now, it's not just about knowing what's there. How do you prepare? It's important that you know what's available, and using your social media is also another emerging tool for people getting opportunities to do PhD or funding generally. So Twitter, what's called X now. It's important to also maximize training opportunities. So for those who are here today, good, because you are getting to know more things and know more about how to navigate that career path of getting your PhD. But PhD funding opportunities are very competitive. So it's important that you are prepared. So things like learning research techniques, whatever that area of research that you're doing is. It's important that you learn the techniques that are useful in those areas. Learn also how to improve your writing skills, because some of them will require you to write preliminary proposals. Some of them will require you to submit evidence of publications that you had before. So all of these are ways that you could prepare, and how do you can learn some of these things through the means that we've talked about before, internships, through experience working under somebody, through mentoring, etc. But also Coursera and YouTube are also good avenues and platforms to learn and improve and develop any of the skills. So for those who are looking at, who are already in academia, for those who are in the academia, please let's people, if you're not asking a question, let's be muted. So ways of advancing our careers if we are currently in the academia. First would be very important that we continue to develop our research skills. So there was a contribution from Dr. Sholali earlier about the need to, when we collaborate, we have the opportunity of learning new skills that we've not had before. And we can also, if whatever stage of you are working in the academia, whether you are just a graduate assistant up to a professorial level, we can maximize training opportunities to help us. Short-term visits, fellowships are some of the ways where we not just build collaboration, but it helps us to build our research track record. So, and for those who are part of NAM, the Nigerian Applied Microbiology Network, we've been doing a lot of things together that have been helping to advance. We've been collaborating, we've been publishing papers, applying for joint funding. These are ways that will build the track record and will help us to progress. And very importantly, as we do all of these things, it's important to stay visible. Even if you have built an excellent track record and you're only known within your institution, it's not the optimum way of maximizing what you have, the effort you have put into developing your profile. So researchers need to be visible on LinkedIn. Is one platform now that is quite important. Let people know what you're doing. Let people know about your research. Share stories about things that you're doing that can connect with different people in different parts of the world. So that's very important there if we are looking to develop in the academia. I'll share the example of somebody who is my friend and brother. So Professor Ezekiel recently got an award last year, which is the highest award for mycotoxin research. That is, it's a global award, and he's the first African to do that. And it's I'm showcasing this because it's an example of someone who is homegrown. He started his career as a researcher from Nigeria and stayed in Nigeria until he rose through the ranks to become a professor at Babcock University. So he is someone who is, just 1 second, please. Yeah, apologies for that. So I was talking about Professor Ezekiel being an example of someone who is homegrown. Can you still see my slides, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So, but some of the lessons I learned from him that I think are worthy of sharing is the fact that starting out, he had to invest in himself. So I understand that research funding might not be as readily available within our different countries in Africa as it is elsewhere in the world. But the importance of investing and developing oneself up to the point that they are competitive enough to then reach out to short-term fellowship. So both of us won an EU fellowship in 2010 to do work. I went to Italy for mine. He did his work in IITA at Ibadan. And those were the small little steps that built up over time for him to get to that point. So the importance of investing in ourselves as researchers cannot be overemphasized, especially at the starting stage, because it would eventually start paying off at the end of the day. So I'm gradually moving towards the end now. So for people who want to work, who want to apply their research skills beyond academia, outside of the academia, what are the opportunities? Just to mention, as part of developing his career, Professor Ezekiel had the opportunity of working at the African Union as a food safety specialist. So it was his research, which was recognized, and then he was able to lead a project that was on food safety, on his area of research, or working at the African Union. Obviously, he was on a leave of absence and came back to his work to continue at Babcock University. So the point I'm making there is that there are opportunities for transition, even within the academia, to work outside of academia, apply our skills there, and still come back to academia. So we should maximize areas of engagement. If you want to work in other sectors, it's important to start with the low-hanging fruits, opportunities to visit those, whether it's an industry, a government agency, small business, startup, whatever it is, to engage with them on an ongoing basis. Because when opportunities are available, it is those that are already engaging with them that they remember first. And while doing all of those, it's still important to continue to build our track record and our visibility. So I'm showcasing two people here. I'm showcasing Dr. Tosin Somorin, who is a lecturer at the University of Strathclyde in the UK. She works at the International Water Management Institute at the moment on a secondment. So our research is in the area of circular economy and waste management. But although being a lecturer, she wanted to apply her skills beyond the university, and the opportunity came after previous engagement with this organization that she had the opportunity of having a secondment there while still keeping her job at the University of Glasgow, at the University of Strathclyde, I beg your pardon. So that's one example. The other example is another friend, Dr. Obina Ezekoli. So Obina had his PhD. So we were colleagues so Obina had his master's at the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, where we met. And he went for an exchange program in South Africa and got a PhD position at Northwest University. When he completed his PhD, he did postdoc for a while, and he wanted to explore his interest using one of the key skills he got during his PhD as a writer. So he works as a medical writer at this company now in South Africa. And while doing that, he still maintains an appointment as an extraordinary academic at the Northwest University. So the point I'm trying to make here is that we are in a very good position, especially in Africa, where we could explore things outside of academia while still retaining a position in the academia. Personally, I also would say I fit into this because I do, at the moment, I work freelance for myself as a consultant for research career support, as well as being a visiting senior lecturer at Ajayi Crowther University in Nigeria. So it's important to see how it is possible to transit and still keep connections within different career areas. Okay, 2 slides before I finish. So having heard all of these points, it's important for us to take as an action point that we determine we should take ownership. I think I will use it that we should take ownership, we should take agency of how our career develops. Nobody's going to think about our career for us. Even if they do, they won't do it as best as we can. So it's important to develop a plan. What are the areas that I would like to develop into? How can I gradually learn and transit into these areas? The second point there is, and we can use the RDF as a very good tool to help us do that planning. I'll end by saying that the researcher career is never linear. You could find that for some people, they did that masters, after masters, they got appointed as an assistant lecturer and it continues. It can be that for some people, but in some other cases, it can be very, very complex. So I've just shared a bit of my own personal experience here of how I navigated through from my first degree at Olabisi Onabanjo University up to what I do now, which is at RBridge as well as University, Ajayi Crowther University. So I end by saying that as researchers, we are very highly skilled people, and the skills we have are in high demand in different sectors. What's important there is for us to be aware of what these opportunities are, and we can repurpose these skills to work in different sectors. And finally, and if there's anything I want us to take away, is that we can take ownership of our careers. We need to be aware of what's available and what's possible, and then explore not just formal ways, but also informal channels of learning, of development. And where necessary, seek help from mentors, from people who are knowledgeable, even if you have to go the extra mile to get the help that you need. It's important because it will help you overall. All right, so that's me. You can, if you can join me on LinkedIn, or that's my email address if there's any comment. So that's the end. Happy to take questions. Thank you very much.
All right, Dr. Yinka Somorin, thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. It's really a food for thought. At least that's for me, and sure people have various feelings or insights about what you have presented. I think yeah, this is the question and answer section, and we will take questions like maybe 2 or 3, which Dr. Yinka will respond to, and then we'll take another set. Please, if you also want to verbally ask our questions, we can raise our hands, and then we can then unmute and ask our questions. I think, Dr. Yinka, that's okay by you?
Yeah, that's fine, please. That's fine.
All right. Thank you very much. We also welcome everyone who has joined us while during the course of the presentation. I can see some of the people, some of my friends. It's good to have you around here too. And yeah, so we are all distinguished and you're all welcome. So we will then start forth. Does anybody have any question? Yes. Oh, I can see Dr. Olumide. Yeah, so while he's doing that, others can also put up their questions in the chat box or raise their hands. Dr. Lumide, please go ahead, sir.
All right, Dr. Moji, thanks very much for that. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Yinka, too, for that presentation, which I think is very helpful. And I think I'm one of those who try to take charge of their career right from, towards the end of my PhD. So my own point is not a question per se, but just to buttress what you have spent time to say. Towards the end of my PhD, I was beginning to ask myself, after PhD, what next? The general phenomenon is people just go into academia. Then I began to map out what are the skills that I have. So, and I look at my interest. I have interest in anything research, communication, publication, writing of papers. So it was my research interest. So there was an advert from the university. And the advert has to do with, they are looking for a publication officer. So someone who can help researcher to understand the kind of publications they can publish, where to publish, and then help them upload it into the university website, which eventually we have to report it to the government based on some metrics that they use here, similar to the UK. So that was how I got into the system. So after being employed as a publication officer, that was before my PhD graduation. In fact, I didn't bother looking for, I think I applied for a postdoc. I got a postdoc, but before I could be offered a postdoc, I already got the publication officer position. So I just move on with that one. And then after I did that for a while, I discovered that there is a professional body termed Research Management and Administration that has to do with research support specialists, people who are interested in research. They are not doing research, but rather they support researchers. So I was curious to know more about that. And Australia has that professional body. So I joined by virtue of my university. After joining that, I began to see diverse kind of opportunities, within that area that sincerely I was not aware during my PhD. So I move on from publication officer to research grant officer, where I help researchers with their grant application. They write it actually, we do the review, check the guidelines for them, making sure they do the writing, then submit it, we help them with the approval, the administrative part of it, we help them with that. And then we also coach them on how to submit a very good proposal. Now, I did that for 3 years and 3 months. 3 years, 3 months. And over that period, I think I was able to support over 300 grant applications valued at over $300 million. So along the line, I got, while I was in that grant position, I now decided to look at what are the various opportunities that are still available. So aside you thinking and taking charge of your career now, even when you are in that career, there still need to explore more. Because if one is not careful, one can just relax and say, yes, I'm already at the bus stop, whereas there's still heights to overcome. So I decided to do a study, not really a study, just for my own personal knowledge. I decided to be collating adverts of jobs that relate to research management. So I set the keywords into the job website here in Australia, and I started collating that. And before you know it, I started 2021 August. By the time I would do that for a month, I discovered that there are different kinds of positions I can actually navigate through. So I continue for a year. To cut the story short, not to take much of your time, as at last year, August, when I finished the study, I discovered that within 2 years, 1,150 positions were advertised within research management. You have positions such as research support specialist, grant officer, researcher development officer, research development officer, research funding officer, intellectual property officer, they are just too numerous. And obviously, that really helped me to plan my pathway as someone who is in that field. And I was able to know where I'm going, even within that same profession. So it's very important that we take charge of our career and plan out our, even if we're in the academia, if one doesn't plan their way very well, one can stay long in a position more than expected. Whereas if you plan very well, to climb the ladder is not so hard. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Prof. That's very valid. Any other question, please?
Okay, I saw a hand up.
There is a hand up. The hand has gone down again.
Sorry,
Yeah.
it's me. Let me bring my hand down.
No, someone else aside Dr. Lumide. Someone else raised their hand up. Anyway,
Okay.
who else has any question?
Let me check the chat. Let me check the chat box. Is there anybody who has we can also share our own experience as side questions if we have. Okay, Dr. Sholali, Yinka.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for your presentation. One of the questions that's popped to my mind is, it's like we have this, this global south, global north kind of experiences which differs because of the peculiarity of what are obtainable in each region. Now, when I listen to your talk in terms of the opportunities that are available, it's not really what we have, here. And I'm not saying this not to make an excuse for not making efforts to build ourselves, but then that how can we leverage, well with colleagues who are, well positioned, connected in the global north, so that we can, or they can help create a pathway for their colleagues here to, benefit. Because like I said, we go through a lot of challenges, and just listening to the last speaker, see a lot of available opportunity that is available. But then we know that many of these things are not. Say, for example, in my institution, we don't even have a research management department, talk less of thinking that there might even be other, opportunities, out there. So how well can we, capitalize on colleagues who are out there? How the candidates who are there also help us here to be able to tap into these opportunities? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Yinka, please let's take Mr. Abbas, Abel, and then Dr. Mike. Then I'll also add something to what Dr. Yinka said before you respond. I think that's okay. So
that's fine. I'm taking notes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Abel. Then after that, Dr. Michael. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where we are currently. I want to say a big thank you for the opportunity to participate in this knowledge enriching training rather than a webinar. I look at it as more of a training, talking about career advancement and all. I think this is really what we need at this moment in Nigeria, to be very specific. I just want to add to what, maybe respond to the last person that speak on the availability of opportunities. I think the first conference I attended was 2016, and Dr. Madi happened to be my. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. If you could
Okay.
make it brief, yeah.
Okay, 2016, and that was when I graduated from the university. So what happened was, when I saw the conference, I was eager to really participate in the conference. And after the conference, I saw a lot of opportunities coming, and I think one of the goal I went with for that conference was to make sure I engage with one person, and that is where networking comes in. And other opportunities are being able to volunteer, even at that conference where you present a paper or participate. You're able to offer yourself for volunteering, maybe in terms of running up and down statistics, technical activities. So I think those ones really also opened opportunity for me. Though still doing my MSc, I'm rounding up though, but then I can attest that I have had several sponsorship to attend workshop trainings and conferences based on some of those volunteering. And I could also, maybe you're writing a manuscript, or maybe in a platform or a network where we belong, there's maybe a manuscript writing is going on, I could just offer to participate. And that has really helped a lot. So I think we have a lot of opportunities in Nigeria. But the challenge is being able to maximize those opportunities, being able to go online and maybe link up with networks. There are a lot of networks online that we can actually leverage on, link up with, and then you become an active member, participate, contribute whatever you can. And one thing I discovered with the advanced countries is, irrespective of how little your input is, they always recognize that.
Yeah.
Maybe that is limited in Nigeria, but in several international bodies, irrespective,
Yeah,
they
thank you
recognize.
very much for the contribution. Yeah, I think that's a very valid point. Looking for opportunities to maximize. Yes, there are opportunities, but we should maximize it. I think for the sake of time, thank you, Mr. Abel, for your contribution. We can take Dr. Okuru now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yinka, for this insightful presentation. I believe we have all learned. I have learned a lot too. I just want to share a little of my experience. I'm not in the university. I am in the Federal Polytechnic. And in my polytechnic here, research is at the list of what management or individuals give attention to. There is no attention for any form of research here. They may talk about it, but when you look deep into them, you will know that it's not part of what they really need. And we don't have postgraduate students here. So a lot of discouraging factors for research are here. I do it as a form of interest, which I conceived long ago. And thanks to the Nigeria Association of the Nigerian Microbiologists, as we are here today, thanks to them, it is a very good way to collaborate. I call on people here and there if I need anything, and they are always ready to assist me. And the few links I make here and there, I try to maximize their use. This is how I've been surviving. Most of you will notice that most of the polytechnics in Nigeria are like that. When we meet, just check how many people are from the polytechnic. You hardly see anybody. And that's a very discouraging factor. But I want to tell you that I am never discouraged, and I'll continue the way I do. And getting information like this from Yinka is also another booster. And I want us to do like this and use this platform of Nigeria Applied Microbiologists to go higher. We had this opportunity today because Yinka is one of us. Any of you can come up and share your experiences with us tomorrow. And in this way, I think it will get better with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So, Dr. Moji, do you want to add your comment now or question, and I can answer the one question that we have? I think there's been mostly comments. So, one question.
Mine is similar. Okay, mine is similar to all that has been said, particularly Dr. Yinka Osholale's question, because I've been thinking also, I'm thinking about my own career path up to now, and just as he said, many of the opportunities, I look at your background and where you are talking, you're sharing experience from Global North, and then I'm thinking of Global South, though the response has been, we can't just limit ourselves, because you have to be a global person, a global citizen, or no, a global scholar. Yes, that's what I'm trying to look at. Or a global researcher, yes, in everything that we do. And I've also learned about consultancy. I've seen people while in Nigeria who still network. So I think along the line, I'm just trying to think, because you mentioned, you gave an example of your friend who you said invested in himself. So I think my own question is, how did he actually invest in himself? Because that word, it's like an overview. It's a cover for so many things.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I think let's unpack that. Very good. Okay, so number one, on the question of Global South, Global North, I still consider myself fully Nigerian and Global South. And the reason for saying that is because from the interactions I've had, in fact, I'm getting to learn now. Some of the things I shared are things I am just learning myself. So there are organizations, so there are NGOs, international development organizations. In fact, that international development sector is pregnant with a lot of opportunities. There are organizations that will basically, all they are looking for is somebody with expertise related to the kind of work they do. And it starts from engagement, like, even if it is volunteering one's skills to help them in the initial stages. When they get big down to do big projects, because you've built a track record of working with those organizations already, you have a higher chance of being involved in those things. So it's something that we can also benefit or use within. I gave the example of my friend who is also based in Africa. Dr. Ezekiel works as a medical writer. So I would say that there are businesses that are looking to expand into Africa, but they won't import somebody, they won't bring somebody from the US, for example. Not in all cases, it might not be economical for them to bring somebody from the US to Africa to do a specific job if there are people on the ground who have the exact same skill set and they can probably pay for less. So it is the responsibility is on us to look for those kind of businesses that do research consultancies, those kind of NGOs that require our expertise, and begin to engage with them. And from those, we can begin to see those opportunities. So that's one. Number two, how can colleagues who are in the Global North support those who are in Global South? I'd say that the first is like what we are doing now, to bring the awareness that this opportunity exists. And I thank Dr. Odeyemi for his own contribution to it, that those opportunities exist. The second point is that depending on their interests, because there are a lot of these opportunities that are open, they will take people from anywhere in the world as long as you have the skill set. So in my position, when I was leaving the University of Glasgow, they advertised my position and I shared it within the network that I had. If so, in those kind of instances, if you see an advert that you're interested in as a colleague from that's based in Africa, you can reach out to any of your contacts elsewhere to say, I saw this job, I think I can do it, or what do you think? Do you think I can do it? I think I can do it. And then we can work with our colleagues to review their CVs. We have some experience of how those things work here. We can then guide to say, position this way, because in not just in the research landscape, even in the applied research areas, we found people, there have been people who will come directly from Africa, apply for those jobs, get it, and move this way. So it is possible, it is there. Let's keep the conversation going, and we'll be able to support as best as we can. On the question, Dr. Moji's question on investment. Okay, so at the initial stage, during masters and even for some part of PhD of Professor Ezekiel, he was literally using his salary to buy reagent, sleeping in the lab, actually doing the research. And that's the investment. People's money must be where their mouth is. Yes, we want to build a global profile, but because we understand the funding landscape, it might not come that easy. So what he started with was using his salary, aside from sorting family out with the basics, he puts them back into buying agar. It does mycology work, fungi, buying those reagents and doing the work. And once the results started coming, he started publishing, then seeing opportunities for short-term fellowships. He was able to be linked with IITA during his PhD. And from IITA, he continued to develop. IITA gave him access to more facilities than he had before, and he was doing more work. That exposed him also to other people that he began to collaborate with, and he continued like that. But he first started by him using his resources to invest in himself and looking for every avenue to develop as a researcher. So those are the investments that I can talk about. Thank you.
All right,
There
thank
were
you.
a few other hands that came up for questions. Please, let's ask.
Dr. Kafayat, Dr. Kafayat, her hand was up, and Dr. Mabel, please, would you still want to ask? You can unmute and ask your question.
Yes, please. Dr. Yinka, thank you for the presentation. So my question is about the visibility. I would, yes, you said on social media like LinkedIn and all of it. So what should be the content of the things we share on those social media platforms? And when should we draw a line between the visibility, the research visibility, and show off? Thank you.
Dr. Mabel? Okay, Dr. Yinka, there's also another question in the chat box. Please, can we also shed more light around commercialization of research output? So maybe, okay, and then Prof. Aderolu, you're welcome, Maosa. I think you can add Prof's question, then Dr. Yinka can go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. There is this which I want to say as opportunity for people. The first thing is, before you can get linked up into this international thing, is you must believe in yourself. You must believe in yourself. You must not be haunted by your background. You must not be haunted by your background. You must not see your knowledge as being too crude, right? So, because these are limiting factors. If you feel, oh, I studied where the facilities are poor, or where I have not seen this modern equipment and everything, you will not move. And if you don't believe, if you believe the white collar is superior to yours, you will not be able to exercise enough of what you are made up of. So believe in yourself, and then I mean, don't be discouraged by a no. Don't be discouraged by a no. When I was going up, I threw applications here and there. As usual, all I'm always expecting is a no. The day I saw yes, my mind was even reading no. It was my student that said, "Oh, God, this one is positive," because as usual, it even got to a point, this is for the younger ones, it got to a point that myself and one colleague, we were saying, it's like these people, they've known our name. Anything you throw out, whenever they see this name, they just knock it down. That I hope we will not change our name to one English name so that it can carry weight. No, this is not it. It's just that you've not gotten the methodology right. So don't give it up. I remember growing up too, I made a mistake, or when I was confused, I made a statement in the presence of Professor Ahmad. I said, it's like they finish all the research in this world. I don't know what to publish on again. Then he said, I should fill it in my HAPA form. That is what we use for promotion. And I said, feel that they finish all the research. I then recalibrated my brain, and then to God be the glory today. So please, young ones should believe in themselves. If you do not strive, nobody will strive for you. And there is nobody that is using any anointing soap. We are all there after several failures in which we refuse to give up. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Prof. Yeah, just I think I will start from Prof's comment is that nothing. I also started, I did my first degree and master's in Nigeria before I got a PhD opportunity to go to Ireland. But even at that, it looks as if, sometimes it looks as if I know nothing. But how did I do? What did I do? How did I approach that? YouTube was my friend. So if, for example, I know, oh, I need to do Western blot, the first thing I'll go and do is watch Western blot videos on YouTube like anything. Watch as many as possible. So it keeps me in the frame of things before I get into the lab. So it's part of the investment. Don't think that you know nothing. If you know nothing, you won't be where you are. So at least you know something, but the knowing where to look for the support that you need is very critical. And obviously, disappointment is part of the journey as a researcher. You'll get no on research grant applications. You will get no on a lot of things. But the vision of where you want to be is what should be the driver. Now, I'll answer the question of Dr. Kafayat. So what should be the content on LinkedIn? So basically, and how do you draw the line between show off and visibility? My LinkedIn is not for personal things. It is for professional things. If you want to do personal, maybe Twitter, but I use LinkedIn mainly for my profession. And what do I show there? If I am doing, for example, when myself and Dr. Yinka Somorin organized a workshop on antimicrobial resistance detection at his university, Elizade, we put it there. Oh, this is what I am doing now. This is what we are doing. This is how this is going on. So those are examples of things to put. Oh, I've just published a new paper. This is it. Now, what that helps to do is it helps build if somebody just hears your name and wants to check you out, aside from looking at publication, if they want to look at is this person really passionate about what they are doing, or they are just doing it as a job, it can come across very well in the things you post, because they can see whether, maybe it's because it's part of their day job. That's why they are doing it. When I was doing those things I was doing, I was not a lecturer. It was just a passion. All of these master classes that we do, it's just a passion. The things that I do to support other researchers are just part of what I love doing. And it is those what I love doing that gave me my job at University of Glasgow. So even now, you looking at, I am starting to develop a business around research support. I put it out there. During the week, I was facilitating some workshop for a university in South Africa. I put it out there. I asked the person politely after I finished, Can you do a feedback or recommendation of what I have done? Obviously, I'm not dictating what they should write, but it's just saying, this is my professional profile. Your LinkedIn is your professional profile. If somebody has not read your CV, from looking at your LinkedIn, they should be able to get an idea of what you do and what you're passionate about. I think we should keep it there. The question on commercialization. So generally, well, the way it works here, now I don't know very much about how it works in Nigeria or in other countries in Africa. But the way it works is that
sit down and remove it from your leg.
The way it works is that whatever research output you generate, the intellectual property, some universities own it exclusively, some other universities have a share of whatever the, if it is commercialized, whatever the percentage is, back to the researcher. But you need to look at the context of what your institution, does your institution have a policy around this? If not, then you should be free to be able to have conversations on how to develop it. So, for example, if you did a research that you funded yourself, that is showing, for example, how to better smoke fish, that makes it much better to the consumer, and it helps to get good value for money, even for those who are making it. You can commercialize that. It's your process. You funded it. And there's no institutional barrier to the commercialization. So I think first is to look at what your institutional policies are. And once you've found that, you can navigate whether you want to go ahead, speak to people who have money, who can fund the venture, or if you want to start it yourself, etc. Okay, I hope those questions are answered. Dr. Adesina. There's a hand up.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Dr. Somorin, for that enlightening presentation. I just want to lend my voice to what everybody has said. Yes, we have all spoken well, and I would like to just share my own experience, especially when it comes to putting our work out there. Like you have spoken about LinkedIn and so many ways. All what you have said is very valid, and I would like to cite some 3 examples about myself that has also helped me. There are so many discouraging factors in Nigeria, but one thing I used to tell myself is that I have this nothing is impossible mind when I'm doing things, and most times when I send an application, I will always apply. And I used to tell my friends, also my colleagues and my students, that when you put in one application, you have already done 50% of your next application. Because when another call for application comes, you will be able to pick some things from the one you have done before. So if the first application you are doing takes you like 5 days to do, the next one will not take you up to 5 days, because you'll be able to pick some elements from what you've, so some of the questions will be similar. So it will help you. So I always tell people that, don't worry, thank God they're not seeing our face. You are just putting your name there, you're submitting. Don't be discouraged, just keep applying. And this helped me during my PhD also. During my PhD, I always longed to do my PhD outside the country, but because of family and so many, I didn't see it as a possibility. But I have this mind of I have this belief in myself that I can do it. And thank God, when I saw my application, because there's so many discouraging factors in Nigeria, when I saw this application for OWSD, and I showed my supervisor, I did everything. I didn't even read it. She just said, hey, I've mentioned somebody to you in South Africa. Send it to him. Since you are interested to go and work with him, let him go. Let him help you to see it, to check it. And that was it. And I sent it to the host, and the professor helped me to go through it, gave his own suggestion, and that was it. When I got that application, since that day, I don't get discouraged in doing any application. So I want to encourage us that we should just keep on applying for things as much as possible so that we can put ourselves out there. Another thing I want to say, like somebody asked that, how can we sell ourselves, and then how do we draw the line between showing off and showing our work? For me as a researcher, I don't see anything as show off, sincerely. One thing I've realized is that even within the academic sphere, people don't read. We don't read. People don't read publications. They don't read anything. And even those that want to read, it's not because they want to read, there's no time. Before you will lecture, you will do so many administrative work within your university, there's no time to read anything extra. So if you publish and you don't post it on your maybe the faculty WhatsApp or department academic staff WhatsApp, people will not know that you have published anything. And I have to tell you the truth, it's through this NAM. Actually, I give kudos to Dr. Sholale. He always say humble brag. And since then, I used to do it in my university also. When I have any publication, I'll put the humble brag. Some people may see you as you are doing show off, but for me, it's not a show off. And I have to be sincere with you. I joined the new university in 2022, and it has really helped me because when I put it, one of the WhatsApp group where I belong in my university, our vice chancellor is also there, and people don't really, only few of us does that. And I realized that it makes our vice chancellor to know people that are publishing because he can't be going through everybody's platform to know who is publishing. Within that 2022 and now, when there are opportunities for the university to select somebody for something, I notice they always select me. And I'm guessing probably it's because I used to post that humble brag. I just published this, I just published that. In fact, last month, somebody was telling me there was a program in my university. My vice chancellor took one of my paper that I posted in 2022 that I've really forgotten, used it in one of his presentations in my university as an example. People were calling me on phone because I was not there. I was surprised. So it kept the paper. So it's always good that we'll put our things out there. And also another tip I also want to give that also happened to me. When we are teaching our students, we should use our research output as an example when we are teaching them. We should make mention of it. And I will tell you why. Because it helped me also. Last year, I was just talking, normally I do that. I will tell them, oh, I got a grant, I did this work, this was the result. I will relate it to the topic I'm teaching. And in our postgraduate class, one of our students worked with West African Health Organization. And after some months, after I had that lecture with them, he just chatted me and said, Ma, it's not my student. I'm not the one supervising his project. He's a MPhil PhD student. He just said, Ma, I work with West African Health Organization and we have this training. I'm the coordinator. I'm selecting you to come and participate. That was the first time I ever attended a program with West African Health Organization, and it's going to be for 2 weeks. Sincerely, we were paid in dollars, and the amount of money I was paid was more than my 1 year salary. Not only that, I had to take permission from my vice chancellor. It was at that point I knew that many professors in my university have been going for this work, different things with West African Health Organization. And this particular one was field epidemiology. It was for us to develop a curriculum for field epidemiology and laboratory practices in the whole of West Africa. So I was shocked when I got there, and I saw professors from UI, from some selected universities in Nigeria. And I had to take permission from my vice chancellor. It was there and there in that program. Within that 2 weeks, that I got the news that I've been selected as acting HOD of the Department of Epidemiology. I'm in the Department of Environmental Health. That's where I belong. I was shocked, and my dean told me that it's because I was selected for that program that made my vice chancellor to say, okay, I should go and be acting. At least even that 2 weeks alone is enough. And with my level, with my experience with environmental epidemiology, that could still be in the position to act as the head of that department for the meantime when they will get a substantive person to be the HOD. So I think it's good that at least even within our department, we should, even within our university, and even on LinkedIn that you said, we should share our work. And finally, I'm sorry to take our time, LinkedIn has also helped me. And I'll give you an example. In 2022, I was in Germany, and my accommodation, everything was sorted out because I was collaborating with somebody that also got to know me through LinkedIn. He saw one of my publications. He started chatting me. We started talking, and I told him, okay, I got a short research thesis. I'll be coming to Germany. He arranged everything for me. Even up till now, I've not met him eye to eye, because when I got to Germany, he had to go to the Netherlands to go and do another research. So he was not there, but he did everything for me. They picked me from the airport. Everything went well for me. And even now, I've helped him. He's now in my university as an adjunct staff, even though he's not in Nigeria. He teaches from Germany in my university. So LinkedIn helped. Secondly, just last month also, somebody contacted me on LinkedIn, and I was like, who is this person? I even thought he's a student that needed assistant or something. Then he introduced himself as a researcher. I went to Google Scholar. I saw him as a big researcher that published in High Impact Factor Journal. Now we are working together. Why? Because they needed somebody to collaborate with that is in Ondo State. So they shared the questionnaire with me, they shared the research idea, and we are on it. Even as I'm speaking to you now, he's chatting me on WhatsApp. So I think as researchers in Nigeria, we don't have to get ourselves discouraged. We just need to keep on keeping on, like they used to say. So thank you very much. I just said I should share my own experience so that I know it could help someone also to navigate.
You've done more than the presentation today, actually, Dr. Adesina, because you have demonstrated real life, real practical experience, how this thing works. So this opportunity exists. It's just getting to know them. So we're happy that we are part of this network together, and we'll be sharing more information on how we can support ourselves for these things. So thank you very much. I really, really, really appreciate that. Yes, Dr. Moji, back to you, ma.
Yeah, thank you so much for all that you have all shared, the questions and also the experiences. We will end our Q&A session at 11:45, so we have 2 more minutes, and I can see Thomas Adewumi. So after Thomas Adewumi and then Dr. Yinka response, or whoever wants to share.
Get me down, see, Dr. Moji. Get me down, see.
Yes. This is Dr. Kemi Dancy. Good to have you here. You
Good to
are
have
the
you
name
too.
of the
Thank
university,
you.
what we are seeing here. So we'll take your comment or question in a minute. Please, after that, Dr. Latifat. Dr. Latifat it's here with us. She will share with us how to become a member of Nigerian Applied Microbiology Network. And in 5 minutes, immediately after we round up this Q&A session. And if you have more time, then I would like to do a 5-minute take-home message. If some people, 1 or 2 persons will share with us, what is their take-home message from today's presentation and discussion? Thank you. Then we'll round up. Okay, Dr. Kemi.
Thank you, Dr. Moji Osheni. Thank you, Dr. Yinka too, for your presentation, and others who have really made substantive contribution. Well, many people have said a lot. Let me just lend my voice. And what I would say as a researcher, I believe many of us here on this platform, we are lecturers. And I want to really reiterate having good publication. When you have that, you'll be cited. And that definitely will make you to be visible. When you are publishing, not in predatory journals this time around, if you are publishing in good research outlets, definitely many will see your work and cite it. I could give an example of mine. I've never woken up in a day, I will check my email. My research gate will tell me that a researcher so have cited my work. And to my utmost surprise, I work on fermented food and Nigerian food. And I really see many researchers abroad from Austria, from UK, Canada, US, citing my work. I'm really impressed. And what made it to be so is because, 1, I was able to publish in good journal outlets. And again, I made myself to be visible. And I had that through all this platform, Google Scholar, ResearchGate, Scopus, all these, they are very good as addition as researchers. So if in planning, let me just put it in this way, before we even start the research at all, we should have in mind where we are really publishing our work. And that alone will really make many to go and see our work and read it. I'm proud to say this. Most of my work, they are not cited by Nigerians at all. That means my work is all over everywhere. So that's my own little contribution. It's just an encouragement to the upcoming one, the early career scientists or researchers per se. Thank you for the platform. And thank you to the organizer.
Thank you very much. Dr. Latifat, are you there? Please, can you unmute and share with our invitees on how to join the Nigerian Applied Microbiology Network? Okay, if not, okay, she said she's on transit. Please, we'd like to invite Dr. Yinka Osholale to do that justice for us. Dr. Yinka? Is it there?
Yes, I am.
Sorry that we are dropping this on you now. Please just in 2 minutes assist.
All right. So to join the network is not that difficult. We have a Google Doc form that I wish I could have a quick access to, which every interested person will have to apply, and then their applications will be vetted. And once it is decided upon with their contact, they are made to join the group. So I think that's basically the process involved with it. But like I said, I don't think I have access to that Google Doc form now. But I guess based on the email invite that was sent out for those that registered, I think that can still be used to send a Google Link form to them for those that might be interested. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Doc. Doctor, okay, thank you very much. Please, would now have would like to take the next 3 minutes to 5 minutes to do a take-home message feedback. Please, would anyone want to share with us what he or she has learned today? What's really stood out for us? For anybody before we round up? Any volunteer? I can see Dr. Dukba's hand still up, and Dr. Kemi is like they want to share with us their take-home messages. Okay, Dr. Ngozi. Dr. Dukba, do you want to do that? Your hand is still up. Okay, Dr. Ngozi, please, can you share with us?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for this beautiful.
Please, can you be audible?
Oh,
thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better. It's louder. Thank you, ma.
Okay, thank you so much for this beautiful webinar. Thank you, Dr. Ayojo Sutomi, for inviting me. My take home from this is that we should be confident about our research. Yes, we have some challenges in Nigeria, in Africa, but it still does not mean that we can't do good research. We should connect, network with people, be visible, volunteer in our various professional bodies because it creates visibility, and always have in the mind to collaborate with people to get good research out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. Then Samsung SMA, please, you can unmute and share and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. I didn't know that the settings on my phone actually changed. I'm Lawal Haminat Sonny, a member of NAMS. Good morning, Dr. Moji. Your supposed assistant, but too busy with her PhD work. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon from wherever you are, and good evening. I have actually been trying to raise my hand. I didn't know that I am Samsung until I had to check over and over. Initially, I had questions, but I think I'll make it personal when we get into the group. But for the take-home lesson, I want to say that it's highly encouraging for us, the upcoming researchers. It has not really been easy, you know, when you don't have a PhD yet. I presume that there is a lot for us to do. In fact, I wonder how most females, I want to be gender sensitive now, actually make it to the level of having their professorship without any inch. Because having to run between the home affairs, the academic work, the normal research, your home personal research work, and also to attend to so many other things in order for us to be relevant. Fine, my own take-home lessons from this research and from this webinar this morning is that we should just keep pushing. That definitely the sky is, we can move beyond the sky. Then definitely we should, I think I am this person that I find it difficult to even put out a lot of things personally, like to share with people what I'm doing or what I really want to do, because I believe that we just have to be conservative in whatsoever we are doing. But I can see that, okay, fine. At times I want to write on LinkedIn and I'll just be like, what do I write? And now I think I have a little courage to do that. Then at times I want to come to the group and do humble brag, just like the professors used to do. But I'll be like, I'm not the first author of this paper. I'm just, I'm just, one of the contributors, or probably one of the contributors of the paper. But since I'm not the first author, why do I have to come here to humble brag myself or to say something? But I feel that, okay, in whatsoever we are doing, we should just try as much as possible to be confident in what we are doing. And everybody will know that I disturb a lot. I disturb so many people on the group. Anytime I need anything, I come into your DM to probably come and ask questions and all that. I have my academic mentor in the group who has been helpful since 2017 that I joined the group. He was so helpful throughout my master program, and even now that I'm on my PhD program, I still contact him and he's always there for me. I want to use this opportunity to appreciate Dr. Oshiolale for having to send me something at 11:57 p.m. on a particular night that I had to disturb him, and he waited till that particular period. So I'm using this opportunity to tell people that are actually joining us that the group is a mentee mentorship group, and some of us have been enjoying it. I pray that I will keep enjoying this, and I'll be able to reciprocate to some people also in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, initially I saw Dr. Dupe's hand, but it's like, okay, Dr. Dupe, 30 seconds. All right, Doc, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so I just want to also say that one thing that I've also learned that I'm going to start doing also, even though I'm doing it before, I'm going to, is to do self-development and also to look inwards to see which other strengths do I have that I can leverage on, in addition. Because sincerely, I used to think in my mind also that do I want to do this lecturing job for a long time? I used to ask myself that I think I would like to work in, another sector, maybe industry or like parastatal, that's also specializing in the area, maybe area of water and things like that. And hearing Dr. Oshiolale and also rest of Dr. Odeyemi, I think is a take home for me also to start looking inward at other areas of my strengths and to see I can develop myself in that area. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Doc, thank you very much for your contribution. Now we will. I saw a doctor from Malawi, Dr. Sibande. Is it Sibande? Yeah. Dr. Sibande? Is Dr. Sibande with us?
Yeah, I also noticed it when
Okay,
it
from
joined, but I'm
Malawi.
not sure if it's still here.
With us. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have 4 minutes to 12, and it has really been a good one today. We appreciate everybody for joining. We thank you all for your feedback. We especially appreciate our presenter, Dr. Yinka Somorin, for initiating this discussion and this training. People have a lot of experiences, and I think the take home for me is diversify, consult, network, mentor. And honestly, I always wish I knew this before my PhD, so that I would not just focus on getting a degree, but also start investing, as in having a deep thought about what direction do I really want to go into. And mentorship is really, really important. It's also back to us, whether in academics. Today we have a lot of people from various sectors. Mr. Abel spoke to us from IHVN. We have Prof. We have Dr. Mike from the Polytechnic. We have those of us in the university. We have those where I can see somebody in fishery. Dr. Sibande from Malawi is from global public health, if I'm right. And that tells us about the diverse fields in which each and every one of us is working. So that means that we have opportunities for networking, opportunities for consultancy, and a lot of people have shared how they have had opportunities to venture into other areas, whether within Nigeria, outside Nigeria. And this is a wonderful opportunity. And somebody said something, he said, the challenge we have is how to maximize these opportunities. I think that is also something for me. How do I continue to maximize these opportunities and do the best I can? So I thank you all for all your, we on behalf of the Nigerian Applied Microbiology network, and as a facilitator of the coordinator of the Nigerian Applied Microbiology Masterclass, I want to appreciate your time, your participation, your contribution, and helping us to grow. You know, we invite more members, and let me say that this is a bi-monthly masterclass, though sometimes we may not have hits regularly as due to exigencies of time, but we would as we have speakers. If we invite speakers even from outside